Hi Leo, this is your reading for December 2018. Please set aside anything that you're doing so you're not multitasking and all of your attention is here with me for the reading. Relax your posture, settle into slow, deep breathing to come into a calm, quiet, centered place and release any tension or anxiety that you might be feeling. While I shuffle, please take a moment to check in with your higher self and your guides. Ask them to reach out to my higher self and my guides so that we can create a feedback loop to get really clear and relevant messages that are especially tailored for you. Cool. Nice cards this month here for you, Leo. Some very hopeful and positive looking cards. A lot of optimism, a lot of expansion and growth is what I see here. Although there is, even if there is all of that positive energy and there is a lot of a very big kind of feeling of growing and expanding and moving into fresh territory, but with a sense of confidence and optimism that you have based on a feeling of accomplishments from the past. You know, like I'm talking about new beginnings and such here, but it's actually more of a feeling of building upon what you've already created in the past. But for some of you, there might be some changes this month, or maybe for some of you, you might be going into this next part of your life with a fresh beginning, with new ideas and new concepts, in a way where you're wanting to expand and grow, and I'm getting materialized. For some of you, there's something about here about investments, in particular with real estate. I'll get to that in a second. But for some of you, there is this energy here of some sudden unexpected changes that may be painful and sad. But it is like you have two aces here in the reading, both upright, Ace of Cups and Ace of Swords. I'll go into those more detail in a second. But what I'm talking about here with this kind of, the sense I'm getting is that for some of you, there is a turn of events that might happen this month which could feel either unexpected or a little bit painful, or a kind of shedding of a dream. With the Star card here at the crowning card in this reading in the reverse position, this could mean that for some of you, you kind of letting go of something that you had really been like hoping for some time, and perhaps you're just coming to this place now where you either by your own choice, you've come to realize perhaps that whatever it is that you were clinging to, or the hope or the dream that the vision that you've had around something in particular, it's okay to change your mind about your goals. You know, if you've been putting energy towards something, or if you've been hopeful about something, or wanting something to come into being or manifest something in particular, sometimes the message is that, you know, we don't have to stay clutched onto our aspirations if our feelings towards those goals change. It's totally okay to change your mind. It's totally okay to let go, to shift the goalpost. If you don't want something that you wanted once before, it's totally okay to change your mind. You don't have to keep going towards a specific goal or dream or vision for any reason if you don't feel like that's something that's important to you anymore. So that's the feeling I'm getting for some of you here, is that maybe your goals have changed, or somehow you've decided to let go of a dream or a vision or some kind of, for some of you that could be a relationship, but I'm feeling like this is more about, like, could have something to do with work project, or maybe even it's about an investment that you had. Perhaps this is a letting go of an investment. For some people, this time period is about you going into investment, going perhaps into some type of real estate venture, or some kind of, maybe it's a renovation project at home, or something's changing around that, around the way you use money and the way you invest money for long term. But that's something different. I feel like this central axis of the reading here is a different feeling. It's more like you have changed your mind about something, or you've come to a fresh clarity about an issue. It could be a relationship, with it being this King of Wands in the middle of the reading. And having it crossed by the Five of Cups here, it says to me that the challenge is to kind of is to accept a loss, or to just be okay with moving on. And the crowning card being this star in reverse does say to me that your hopefulness or your optimism around a certain dream or an aspiration has changed. But it's a positive feeling. There may be, like as I said, this kind of feeling of loss and letting go, and maybe some grieving and mourning. But the overall feeling is like, this is actually more in alignment with what I really want. And yeah, maybe the changes could be a little bit of sudden and unexpected. Or sometimes when the Tower comes up in the reverse position, this can indicate to me that you've actually made these changes willingly, rather than it being a kind of forceful, sudden, unexpected type of event that is something which appears to be outside of your control. When it shows up in the reverse position in this, as it has in this reading here, it's more of an indication to me that you have willingly made some changes. And whether or not those changes are spontaneous or sudden or unexpected to people on the outside, it may be that, but it could also be that it just looks like that from the outside, but you may have actually been considering these decisions for some time. But I really like this. I like the whole reading. I like all the cards in this reading. I feel like this is a very positive, uplifting feeling. There's a sense here of you kind of taking back some power from places where it may have been that you've been kind of a little bit tangled up in something that made you feel a little bit disempowered. The feeling here is that you are kind of cutting cords in some ways. For some people, that maybe sounds a little bit dramatic and a little bit extreme, but for some people, I do feel like there is this feeling here of severing ties with certain people, whether it's like a business partner or someone, a close person, whether it's a romantic partner, baby daddy, baby mummy, or even a family member, a blood relative. I feel that there's something here around a shedding, a letting go, a release from a certain type of karmic bond with someone that may have felt very entangled and very limiting and restricting and painful and even disturbing in some cases. And in doing so, you're freeing up your energy here. And these two cards in this position representing you, I really like this. You have the Six of Wands upright with the Magician. This says to me that you're walking away from a situation, or walking into the next part, this next cycle of your life with a hugely confident feeling of success and victory, with an empowered sense of I know the direction I want to channel my energy now, and I have reclaimed energy from places where it has been potentially misused by other people. That's what I see there with the Magician and the Six of Wands. It looks to me like having come out of this, coming from the Ace of Swords position at the foundation of the reading, through this central axis of the reading, where it's like there is a shift happening that definitely feels like you have catalyzed on your own. It's not something it's not like you had a car accident or something, which is something that is like kind of a Tower moment where your whole life gets catalyzed in one moment. But this is more like you've made a decision to move away, to separate, to withdraw, to end a job, end a relationship, something like that. That's this Ace of Swords feeling. And then you come away with this sense of victory, with a sense of success, confidence, and a fresh beginning of you kind of taking back your power, the Magician. Feels like you are reclaiming your sovereignty in a way where you are, you understanding that, like, no, I'll make the decisions about my life and how I use my time and energy, and you're not allowing your energy and time to be kind of controlled by anybody else. Whether that's by, like, maybe for some of you we're talking about, again, a baby daddy, and maybe that person, or baby daddy or baby mommy, and maybe that person has been manipulating you and kind of maybe guilt tripping you, or in some way kind of like kind of tying up the energy in this sort of way where it's like you feel so bound and restricted by their movements or their decisions or their words or their actions, and you're just at the point now you're like, fuck that shit. You're not going to have that power over me anymore. And maybe part of that person's ability to be able to do that in a certain way has been because maybe they sensed that you were still hoping perhaps that there would be some reunion. And now it's so clear for you that you don't want anything to do with this person. Yes, you're going to be family forever, but you're going to be co-parenting, but there isn't that, like, I really feel like there's a severing of certain types of karmic cords with somebody this month. And the energy coming through then is that you feel so freed up. You feel so, there's a relief, a feeling of relief, a feeling of victoriousness, of like reclaiming a very large part of your energy. And so with that in mind, these cards here in this quadrant, the four of Wands upright and the Seven of Pentacles upright, this could be in the physical manifest world. As I said earlier, maybe some of you are considering real estate investments and things like that. But in the context of what I just said around like severing a karmic cord with somebody and moving into your own space of freedom and victory and success, and like figuring out how deciding you're going to channel your own magic in your own way, and it's not going to be dependent on anyone else's decisions or movements or flow or choices. You're reclaiming a lot of power. So that could mean that this is an energetic thing where it's talking about how a marriage or a union of some type before was kind of really controlling you in a certain way, but now you have kind of reclaimed a lot of energy, whether that's physical or otherwise, and it's giving you a sense of achievement in a way that's like you are it's like you're reaping the rewards now of all the time and energy that you put in the past, whether it's to that relationship or to a person or a situation. Overall, the feeling is like you're walking away, you're coming out, you're walking away with your head held high and with a sense of kind of pride and success, not in an arrogant way, but more in just a sense of like, okay, finally I've been able to see all along what's been going on all along, and now I'm reclaiming my power and I'm recovering my power and I'm severing. It doesn't mean you don't see that person ever again. This is more about a type of energetic connection that person has had with you and even over you that no longer exists because you've been able to see with clarity and unhook yourself from a certain type of dependency, of like need or a type of connection where this person has had this ability to kind of have this over you. Okay, nice reading. And the outcome card here, I like these two cards here together, the Eight of Wands and the Six of Wands. That to me says that you, again, like this feeling of coming away with victorious, with your head held high, successful, with confidence and grace. And the Eight of Wands is to me, again, like swiftness, activation, clear communication. It's like there's whatever this eight is here is over, and it's this now, right? Instead of being bound and restricted and kind of held back and limited and kind of feeling a bit like unable to see clearly, you flip the script on that, and now there's just this feeling of clarity, activation, swiftness, moving forward, uninhibited clarity of movement and swift energy of decisions that you make for yourself, by yourself, without any interference from anybody else. And it feels like the end of interference. And again, there's two aces here. So this coming from the foundation of the reading, this is the unconscious mind. This is where you're coming from. Like all this whole reading is kind of swiveling or springboarding off of this one card. So the Ace of Swords says to me, you had a clarity moment. You've had a fresh idea about something, and you're acting on it from a place of love. And the result is like having this fresh energy of a new idea, of a fresh concept, of a clarity over something that may have been confusing until now, and leading you to a place of having, made a transition, made a shift, whether it has seemed swift and spontaneous and perhaps impulsive to others from the outside. For you, it's coming from a place of utter clarity and utter wisdom and absolute unconditional love for the self, in order to move forward unhindered, unimpeded by anyone else's wishes to control or manipulate you in any way. And you walking forward into this next part of your life victorious, successful, feeling proud, with a fresh sense of your own energy, of your own magic, of your own power to channel life in the ways that you see fit for yourself and for your children if you have children. I love this reading. Let's have a look at the bottom of the deck. Three of Pentacles, Six of Swords reversed, Queen of Cups, Ten of Swords reversed, and there's Justice there. I'm going to take that as well. And then there's two twos here as well. Yeah, there's a bit of a story going on here at the bottom of the deck. All right. If there's a legal issue going on here, for some of you, I feel like it may be. If there is like a separation or a custody with children going on here, I feel like you could be, as I said, as you've been making these decisions around how to kind of cease the ability of someone else to affect your decisions, affect your clarities. For this cutting, this sort of severing that's happening here with this person that has been perhaps trying to control you. And if that person has been attempting to control you because they feel like they have an upper hand, or they feel like they can intimidate you in some way because there is some type of legal situation going on, I feel that it doesn't say that it doesn't say anything about the outcome of this legal situation, but it does kind of suggest that it's still ongoing, and that it may be coming time soon where it's going to wrap up. But maybe you're in sort of a final push now where you're kind of like actually in court. Maybe there has been legal stuff like lawyers and agreements and stuff going on. But I feel like coming into this, maybe the last part of this year, things could be wrapping up soon. But I feel like there's a push now where you're actually in the thick of it. And I'm seeing here that the Queen of Wands is kind of just a reminder to say to you, now that you've come to this clarity, just be really sure to stay in your emotional center throughout this. And be really calm. Be really calm. Be in your emotions, but don't be emotional, right? If that makes sense. You can be sensitive and intuitive and empathic and in your emotions, but don't be emotional. Don't be overly emotional. Don't let your emotions control the things that you say and the way you behave with other people, whether it's behind closed doors or in public. Because this is going to be an important part, I think, of this puzzle, is your ability to maintain a calm, quiet demeanor and to just be kind and gentle and soft with words. Because there is this feeling here of like regardless of whether or not there is a legal thing going on where you're actually kind of battling something out, there is this feeling here of like you still have to work together with this person. Like I said, even though you may have kind of cracked the code on this sort of hook that's been engaged, that's been keeping you in a certain space of this, and maybe you've realized now that's what's been going on, and you've unhooked that cord and let it go. This person's still in your life. You still have to deal with them. Okay? I hope that was helpful. I feel like I'm going to leave it there, Leo, for your general reading. Yeah, as I said, there's a bit of story here at the bottom of the deck, but I feel like that's it for the general reading. I feel to say that if you have this clarity now, don't second guess yourself and don't fall back into old habits. Stay with this clarity and don't let this person swirl around and kind of pull you back into some kind of drama, because this clarity is so strong and it's so clear and so vibrant. So maintain this clarity with your emotional center being calm and balanced and quiet. And don't sleep with them again. Okay, let's take the Voyager deck and do your higher octave reading. Now this will give us a little bit more clarity and insight onto what's going on a karmic on a spiritual level, on an emotional level, on a higher octave of this kind of what we've just described here. We're going to get more insight into the spiritual unfolding. So it'll help us get more clear guidance on how to move forward, how to be graceful, how to maximize the lessons or the opportunities that are available so that we can really accelerate on our growth path and clear the way from any old karma. Rise up. While I'm shuffling, please take a moment to, again, center yourself, come into a calm, quiet posture, focus on your breathing, and send your energy over into the deck so that I can get really clear and specific messages for you that are totally relevant through time and space. Six of Crystals crossed by the Woman of Cups. Magician reversed. Eight of Worlds. Priestess. Seven of Worlds reversed. Temperance. Man of Wands reversed. Ace of Crystals. Four of Worlds. Child of Worlds. The Fool reversed. Sage of Worlds reversed. And Eight of Cups reversed. Okay. So what I feel is here is that there is like a kind of what feels like it's kind of become urgent, but this is something that's been going on for a long time. Is this an urgent need to change, a need to overcome stagnation, a need to break free of certain types of dynamics with people. There's a few people here in this reading, but in particular I feel like it's relating to a partner. And interestingly enough, you have the crossing card at the center of the reading is this Woman of Cups, which is the Queen of Cups, which I spoke on a couple of times in the previous reading. So I feel like that is a really key part of this whole message for you, is that your emotional stability, your emotional center is a very key component to this lesson that you're going through right now, or the challenges that you're facing right now. It has everything to do with how centered you can be in your emotional body. Because I feel like if there is children involved and there is some dissonance going on in a family environment where changes are happening, you are a key component in how a lot of people feel. This is not just about your own well-being, but I feel that there's this energy here with the Priestess coming into the reading, and this Woman of Cups as the crossing card. I feel like there's a lot of responsibility on you to ensure the emotional well-being of not just you, but of several people. So learning how to overcome your own stagnancy and your own kind of a type of fixatedness in your emotional desires, in your will, in your in how the decisions that you've made in the past are playing out now. There is this need, as I said in the previous reading, with the Star card at the crown as the crowning card in the reverse position. This was indicating that perhaps this is a time where you have come to realize that something that you were being hopeful and optimistic about is needing to be let go of. In this reading, it's kind of saying the same thing, but it's kind of it's helping me to see, it's helping me to understand that there's more work for you to do in overcoming emotional attachments and freeing up some of that. The stagnancy that you're experiencing now is a result of these emotional attachments, and I feel that there is something there for you to learn around moving emotional energy in a way where it's like you can see from a higher perspective that you're kind of holding yourself back by letting these emotional attachments kind of keep you sort of stuck in a particular grid or in a particular framework with certain people, with certain types of situations and events that you may be dealing with. that you're preventing a lot of forward movement. You're preventing yourself from having a new beginning. You're preventing yourself from having a breakthrough, and you're holding back not just you, but also your perhaps some family members if you have children. Like, children keeps coming up here, so I feel that there are some of you watching that may have children that this is also affecting. And so this card coming into the reading is interesting, the Priestess. I feel that there is something here again for you to note or to pay attention to around your feminine knowing, your intuition. But what I'm getting here with this Priestess, with regard to what I just described there with the Woman of Cups, which is the Queen of Cups, I feel that the Priestess is kind of suggesting that you would do well to invoke a little bit of her energy of the side of her which is a little bit detached. Okay? Whereas the Woman of Cups can be very emotional. The Woman of Cups, when she's very in her aligned state, when she's in her very embodied state, is very loving and compassionate and kind and intuitive. But when she's in a diminished state, or when she's in a less evolved state or a less developed state, this can be excessively emotional, slightly manipulative, needy, attached, sometimes immature. So I feel that this card, as the crossing card, is indicating to me that, again, because you've had it in the previous reading, that you are kind of your own obstacle at the moment, in that you may be the cause of your own stagnancy. I mean, that's usually the case. But from a perspective of being able to see, like, kind of slightly just removing yourself, using this energy of the Priestess to kind of let yourself kind of just detach slightly enough to be able to see the whole situation and the environment that you're in from a different perspective, from a higher perspective, from the perspective of, from the metaphysical perspective, right? You might be able to actually glean a little bit more understanding of how it is and why it is that your energy may be confused, why you may have been like stuck, why you may have been feeling stagnant, why you have maybe been unable to make some changes that you know you've been not only wanting to make, but needing to make, and for some time, and haven't been able to actually make the transition. I feel it's because of your emotional attachment. So it's kind of a reminder to come back to this energy of the clarity that you feel when you understand that you have been in a type of karmic connection that has been binding, has been a little bit. It's like a kind of karmic cord which is unhealthy. So there is some motivation here, or some messages, some reminders, and some incentives here to really hold firm to the clarity that you have in that fresh uprising of understanding with the Ace of Swords, and use the energy of the High Priestess to take a slightly detached perspective from your emotional expression of your dynamic with certain people. It might be one person if we're talking about a relationship that is kind of transitioning, especially if it's someone that you have children with. But this is probably something that's not just expressing itself through one relationship. This could be something that's in your nature that needs to be addressed in general. Now we have the Temperance card here with the Eight of Cups in reverse, and the Man of Wands here with the Sage of Worlds. So again, this is kind of suggesting to me that yes, there has been some stagnancy, there has been like some desire to change and wanting to change and even willingness to change. But there is a kind of emotional stagnancy that is preventing that change from happening. And I feel the message of the Temperance card here is that there is the key to this movement, the key to kind of untangling from that type of emotional attachment is in forgiveness. It is in acceptance and understanding. And it's in reconciliation, but that doesn't mean coming back together. That just means reconciling within you a loss, a letting go. And loss doesn't have to mean like something devastating that you grieve over. It can be for a moment, but it's an opportunity disguised as a loss, because what it is that you're moving on from is a type of dynamic with somebody that has been played out by you. And It has been played out by you. And now you are ready to move on to a different type of relating, which is more heightened. But in order to have that opportunity, you have to create that space for it by forgiveness and letting go. So overcome your own attachment, your emotional attachment to someone by having clarity, by making forward steps in the physical world with that mental clarity and with that emotional clarity, by behaving differently. You have the Ace of Crystals again in this reading, which is the same as the Ace of Swords. This time it's in the position of your hopes and fears. So whereas I felt like in the previous reading this was describing you coming from a fresh clarity in your unconscious mind, in this reading it's now in the position of your hopes and fears, and it says to me that now your work is to really do your best, strive as much as you can to actually achieve that clarity that you had in the unconscious mind in the physical world, in your actual manifest reality. And we want to see this Full Child card in the upright position, in that you actually can transmute and transform and come through all your difficult experiences of this past time with a sense of liberation, understanding, without any resentment, without any attachments, without any holding on or kind of residual debris or connections that's keeping you bound to a certain person or a certain situation, and actually be able to step into the next part of your life free from any types of cords or bindings or attachments, so that you can actually have a fresh beginning, commencement, Four of Worlds in the outcome position, with a fresh feeling of like enjoying and loving life, because you have worked hard to deserve that, to have that, to manifest that. Okay, now we have the Magician card as the crowning position of this reading, but it's in reverse. So it does kind of feel to me like there is still some work to do, as I said, in you actually being able to pull off this whole kind of transition, where you actually can move forward with the kind of, it's like you had a little moment of enlightenment where you kind of understood a lot of things all at once, but it's still just here. You have to actually embody it and bring it into your physical life and actually take steps forward with emotional maturity, with mental clarity, to physically act out those understandings in life in a way that gives you a fresh beginning, which is what you need. You have this breakthrough card here in the position of the outcome, and this is the Seven of Pentacles, which you had in the previous reading in this position. In the previous reading, it's talking a lot more about physical energy, as I said, investments or whatever. But in this position, in this reading, for me, this is much more about you having that mental clarity moment and that emotional clarity moment, but then actually being able to embody it in the physical realm in order to make those changes real, in real time, in real life. So I really want to see this card facing upright. I would love to see you coming out of your emotional attachments and dependencies and come into a little bit more of a clarity around taking a little bit of emotional space from your situation, so that you can see more clearly what's going on and see best how you can rise up to behave differently in ways that will actually create better relationships with everyone, not just with this person, but with your future relationships and all kinds of dynamics with different people. There's a sort of emotional boot camp that you're in right now, and you're close to closing out this cycle, but you have to do this final bit of work to actually embody the understandings that you've come to realize, and actually live them out. Actually practice them and live them out, so that you can free yourself up from this type of emotional binding that you may have had this pattern with different people in the past. This could be one particular example, but clearing the way for much healthier relationships in the future by actually making this shift within you in your emotional state of being. Bottom of the deck. Yeah. Sage of Cups, Regenerator. Five of Cups, Strength, Hanged Man reverse. It's kind of what I was just describing, where it's like you take this understanding that you've had, or whatever this revelation that you've had, or the insight that you've had, and actually embody it in your life in a way where you give yourself the chance to actually regenerate your life by coming into a more heightened expression of your emotional body, giving you greater emotional well-being, because you're kind of rising up out of pettiness, out of immaturity, out of emotional attachments, out of neediness, and coming into a much more heightened version of emotional expression, and overcoming what you perceive to have been a loss, letting it go, grieving it, forgiving with the Temperance card. And in doing so, enable yourself to actually have a new opportunity or a new start by having completely let go of that attachment that you have created by actually feeling like you are losing something. I think this is about changing your perspective or changing your attitude about what it is for a relationship to end. And to stop seeing it as a loss, but rather just seeing it as it is, an experience or nothing's ever really lost, you know. Perhaps you've grown out of it and you haven't accepted that you've grown out of it. I think the Strength card here is a reminder to really kind of embody a type of humility and compassion and confidence where you can actually, you know, resolve certain feelings. Perhaps some of what this is for you is that if you've been rejected by somebody and they are the one that have ended the relationship, this could be about you kind of just regaining some of your self-worth and confidence, and getting it from within rather than having it be something that you receive outside of you from someone's perception of you, right? So rebuilding self-worth and strength from within, confidence, self-love, but also using the energy of this card to keep moving forward in the direction of healing and growing and resolving and overcoming any kind of like emotional deficiencies or weaknesses that need to be, you know, evolved in order for you to move on and be able to embody the energy of the Sage of Cups is here, and this is the Woman of Cups. So the Woman of Cups represents the Queen of Cups, right? Whereas the Sage of Cups represents the most evolved version of that element, right? So this person has mastered the element of water. So this is sitting out here with these extended cards here, saying that this is the potential you can attain if you can overcome feelings of loss and grief and really let go and work on dissolving your attachments by rising up into more of a space of forgiveness, of understanding, of unconditional love. And in order to, I feel like in order for you to achieve that, there is this reminder here again from the Priestess to say, rather than being kind of in the trenches of your emotional energy, like all the feelings and all the swirling and all the confusion that comes from that, this is kind of a reminder to just say, take a slightly detached perspective on what you feel and notice just come from the place of observation around what you feel. Notice what you feel rather than just feel what you feel. I hope that's making sense. And use that space of observation to glean understanding and to see where it is that perhaps you can rise up into different behavior. When you can actually view what's happening from a different perspective, observe yourself from outside rather than from just your inside experience of something, and let that be a way to help you understand better your own actions, your own behaviors, and from that place you can then direct your energy a little bit more and in the way of the Magician. These two are kind of counterparts, right? The Magician and the Priestess. So using the Priestess energy of observation, of slightly detached understanding from a metaphysical perspective, then you'll be able to use the Magician energy to turn the energy around by channeling things in a different way, in a slightly different way. And the Hangman here in reverse. This final card here. It's saying to me that there is something in you that still has not yet accepted. And because you're not accepting fully, and you're unable, perhaps that is the key part to all of this, for you to actually make this transition. That's right here. You're right on the cusp of a big transition. But I'm seeing that with the Hanged Man reverse, that it's you that's actually preventing this transition from happening because you're still holding on. So work with the energy of that clarity of the Ace of Swords and keep moving forward. Don't hold back, don't hold on. Work on striving to see your attachments, to understand them and free yourself from them. Embody a more emotionally mature space, a more emotionally intelligent space. And you can start to channel magic in a more clear way, in a much more heightened way, to have a different future. I feel like you're really on the cusp of changing your whole life. In order for someone to stop having the ability to control you, you have to behave differently too. You have to see your own engagement in that type of attachment behavior. And you have to strive to change. You have to strive to overcome your own stagnancy and see that you need to let go. You need to release. You need to forgive. And you need to understand and unhook yourself. Cutting ties is a little bit severe, and you can leave behind some debris and some residue. A better way to approach it is to unhook. Because as I said earlier, this person will still be in your life if they're the parent of your child. So it's not about severing their ties and severing your relationship. It's about transmuting and transforming and alchemizing your dynamic with that person by approaching your own attachments and taking a look at your emotional well-being based on how you've been behaving, perhaps out of unconscious behavior. Addressing the karmic tie, addressing the karmic contract, and doing what it is that you can to complete your side of the contract so that your energy is not so bound up in lower vibrational type of attachments and manipulations. Once you see your responsibility in it, that other person won't have as much ability to control the way you feel. I'm going to leave it there, Leo. I hope that was clarifying. Thanks for watching. I appreciate your subscribe. It's an honor and a pleasure to read for you. Do watch that again because there was a lot of information there. I would suggest you watch it again now and then also watch it again in a couple of weeks' time. As the month unfolds, you might find it really helpful to get some more reminders about what you heard here. You might also find that as events unfold, different parts of the reading will jump out at you and will make a lot of sense after some time has passed. So, yeah, watch any of the readings that jump out at you. You don't have to just stick to the natal place in your natal chart. Sure, watch your sun, moon, and ascendant, but use your intuition to click on any of the readings that feel like you need to watch, because there's a lot of gems hidden, and all of it is pretty good timeless life guidance for you. All right. Thanks, Leo. Thanks for watching. I will see you in the next reading.